We try to combat not being enough by pleasing and performing and perfecting. We go through our lives trying to be who we think we're supposed to be, doing and saying what we think people want to hear, putting on whatever mask or face we think we need to put on for that moment. And what that leaves us is exhausted. When we're pleasing and perfecting and performing, we end up saying yes a lot when we mean no, right? And we also end up saying no when we mean, oh, heck yes, I want to do that. I really want to do that. And you know what? Even though I have a lot of work, I want to do it now. I don't want to do it 5 pounds from now. I don't want to do it when I'm great. I don't want to do it when I've practiced. I just want to do it now. But we don't have those boundaries when we don't feel like we're worthy and enough. So how do we do things without resentment? And it takes boundaries. So in the end, I think if we take away anything from the authenticity piece, it is about the courage to be imperfect, to be vulnerable, and to set boundaries. Because the whole idea of I am enough starts with enough. Here's the part where we all struggle. Worthiness does not have prerequisites. We need to find a way to engage with the world from a place of worthiness. We need to find a way to say, I'm enough. This is who I am. I want to start with 2 questions. What should I be afraid of today? And who's to blame? What should scare me and whose fault is it? To me, what they're indicators of is a culture of scarcity, a culture of not enough. So let's talk about what scarcity culture is and what it looks like. Scarcity culture, I think, is best understood with a simple question of never enough. And you can fill in the blanks. Never good enough, safe enough, certain enough, perfect enough, relevant enough. And perhaps I think one of the most dangerous and insidious messages today is never extraordinary enough. Somehow, in the world we live in today, an ordinary life has become synonymous with a meaningless life. Extraordinary means relevant. And the top one is the big one for all of us personally, never good enough, which is shame, which we all have on occasion, that sense that we're not smart enough, good enough, perfect enough, loved enough, promoted enough, we're not enough. So what we do in response to scarcity culture, I think all of us every day, we wake up in the morning and we armor up and we put it on and we say, I'm going to go out in the world. I'm basically just going to kick some ass. I'm not going to let anyone see who I am. And in doing so, I can protect myself against the things that hurt the most. Judgment, criticism, fear, blame, ridicule. I'm going to armor up and I'm going to be safe. And we rationalize and we convince ourselves that this armor is really smart. And we use a lot of different things to armor too. Perfectionism, intellectualizing. But if you get really, really clear about what we're doing every morning when we wake up and decide to armor, it's this simple. We're protecting being hurt for a very simple reason that no one really wants to talk about, which is this: love, belonging, irreducible needs of men, women, and children. In the absence of love and belonging, there's always suffering. And so what we believe is that we can protect our sense of being lovable and being acceptable and being worth connection with armor. Here's the very worst news from my research. Our capacity for wholeheartedness can never be greater than our willingness to be brokenhearted, which is a terrible thing, but a truthful thing, that we can only love and be loved as much as we are willing to have our heart broken. And so when we move through the world like this, with our partners, with our children, with our friends, in classrooms, with the people who work for us, with the people we work for, there are tremendous casualties. What I found is authenticity is a practice, and you choose it every day, sometimes every hour of every day. And it's a practice. It's not, I just wake up and, hey, I'm authentic. It's that when you walk into a meeting, you have to make the choice. Am I going to show up and let myself be seen? If I going to raise my hand and say, wow, y'all look super excited. I don't know what in the hell you're talking about. That's a choice. And make that authentic choice, you got to let go of the fakeroo, I say. Yeah. Well, so perfectionism is not about striving for excellence or healthy striving, which I'm for. It's a cognitive behavioral process, a way of thinking and feeling that says this: if I look perfect, do it perfect, work perfect, and live perfect, I can avoid or minimize shame, blame, and judgment. I call perfectionism the 20-ton shield. We carry it around thinking it's going to protect us from being hurt, but it protects us from being seen. Just be beyond judgment, which there's no such thing. And so my story is, one morning I woke up and there were 2 or 3 new articles out, and I started reading the comments, and they were devastating. They weren't about my work. They were about me. They were super personal. And they were the things that creative people play in their mind and then give up doing what they really want to do. Like if I asked every single one of you, what would you try if you knew people would never say this about you? What would this be? Those were the comments that morning. Of course she embraces imperfection. What choice does she have? Look how she looks. I feel sorry for her kids. Less research, more Botox. Just mean personal attacks. The things that really, up until that moment, had inspired me to stay very small in my life and my career, just so I could avoid those things. So I want to tell you about something that changed my life as a creative person. And it's a quote from Theodore Roosevelt. And this is the passage that changes my life. It's not the critic who counts. It's not the man who points out how the strong man stumbles or where the doer of deeds could have done it better. The credit belongs to the person who's actually in the arena, whose face is marred with blood and sweat and dust, who, at the best, in the end, knows the triumph of high achievement, and who, at worst, if he fails daring greatly. So the moment that I read that, I closed my laptop, and this is what shifted in me. 3 huge things. First, it is not about winning. It's not about losing. It's about showing up and being seen. The second thing, this is who I want to be. I want to create. I want to make things that didn't exist before I touched them. I want to show up and be seen in my work and in my life. And if you're going to show up and be seen, there is only one guarantee, and that is you will get your ass kicked. That is the guarantee. That's the only certainty you have. If you're going to go in the arena and spend any time in there whatsoever, especially if you've committed to creating in your life, you will get your ass kicked. So you have to decide at that moment, I think for all of us, if courage is a value that we hold, this is a consequence. You can't avoid it. The third thing, which really set me free, is kind of a new philosophy about criticism, which is this. If you're not in the arena also getting your ass kicked, I'm not interested in your feedback. If you have constructive information, feedback to give me, I want it. But if you're in the cheap seat, not putting yourself on the line and just talking about how I could do it better, I'm in no way interested in your feedback. My husband and I taught our kids growing up. And so we used to say, listen, hold your hands like that. Put your hands in a cup. And we used to say, Ellen, inside here is a little flame. And that's you. That's your essence. That's your spirit. And what you're looking for as a friend, when things get really windy and dangerous, they kind of put their hands over yours and they say, let's keep that thing from blowing out. We want the friends who keep the flame going. What we don't want are flame blower outers.